Om Nithyananda Paramashivam. Om Nithyananda Paramashivam. Om Nithyananda Paramashivam. Om Nithyananda Paramashivam. Om
Nithyanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrisham Tattvamasyaadilakshyam Ekam Nityam Vimalam Achalam Sarvadi Sakshibhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Nithyanandam, with the auspicious blessings and grace of His Divine Holiness, Bhagavan Sri Nithyananda Paramashivam, whom all of us are blessed to be able to call Swamiji, I welcome all of you gathered on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, all the social media platforms, gathered in all of the satsang centers, adinams, temples all over the world, to this auspicious morning once again. Every morning we gather across the nation of Shrikailasa, eagerly awaiting the darshan of Paramashiva, the embodied Guru, the one out of his own compassion has come down to grace us with his ultimate compassion, blessings, and wisdom. All of us going about our day, no matter which time zone we are, whether we are getting ready to go to sleep or getting ready for the whole day, the next day, for work, having breakfast, getting the children, wherever you are, you may be tuning in to satsang, awaiting Swamiji. And it is always so great to see so many viewers across the world always tuning in and always sharing their experiences about Nitya Satsang, how Swamiji comes every single day and blesses us with such immense knowledge, the Paramashiva Jnana of Shrikailasa, of the whole universe. Yesterday, Swamiji had delivered such a sweet satsang for all of us, where he himself said that it was just a process in itself, that even though he was not saying much, he was just sitting with all of us, and all of us in deep Shaktini Pada, or deep feeling connection with Guru, as he himself was remembering his own beloved Guru, Arunagiri Yogishwara. Swamiji, as we, all of us in this satsang introduction can attest to, has given us such a beautiful opportunity to connect to Guru and reviving this ancient indigenous tradition of the Guru-disciple tradition, the Guru-disciple relationship, which many are across the world have entirely misunderstood and misrepresented in so many ways. This relationship with the Guru, Swamiji has said, is the conscious relationship, and it is for growing our consciousness continuously every day.
I can learn to understand you much better if I can.
I know all of us gather to watch Swamiji every single day. And to all of the new viewers, if you are watching newly for the first time on Nithyananda TV or any of the social media platforms, if you see and something kindles in your heart with Hinduism, I invite you to understand the deep Hindu principles, the context that Swamiji is building, and the nation that Swamiji is building just for Hindus everywhere. The only Hindu nation. Swamiji every single day has been speaking directly, attending to and addressing the program participants of the Leela Dhyan participants, the Oneness with the Avatar program. This Oneness with the Avatar program is a special, once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for anyone who connects to Swamiji as Paramashiva himself and who wants to experience oneness with the Avatar, as the name says. And you might wonder why a program which is 11 days in Tiruvannamalai can give so much of connection, deep connection to Swamiji, even if he himself is not directly there conducting every single session. This program is based on, with so much of dedication, in so many intimate and intricate details, the life of the Avatar. So many eyewitnesses, so many details from Swamiji's life are brought out in order for you to experience as an initiation, from the food that you're eating to the yoga that you are practicing. The participants of the program get to experience doing yoga in the exact same place that Swamiji himself grew up doing yoga. The participants of the program get to experience the oneness experience, the experience of having oneness with the entire 360-degree angle and the whole cosmos itself, having that oneness experience in the very spot where Swamiji, that experience itself opened itself to Swamiji, and Swamiji experienced oneness in a whole different level, in what we call, what he has explained to us as the 360-degree vision experience that he had at the age of 12 years old on Pavlakundru. The participants during this program had been able to go to that spot, been able to sit there, see the exact same view which Swamiji had saw, sit there in oneness and just melt into the cosmos, into the entire powerful ambience which has been created there since when Swamiji has sat there and had this experience. Just from hearing these descriptions, you might feel so much of kindled warmth in your heart. If you are eager to experience this yourself, eager to see the eyewitnesses from Swamiji's life, from his own relatives, his own grandmothers, his maternal grandmother, his grandfather, and all of the eyewitnesses from his life, including the person who used to tie garlands for Arunachaleshwara in the Arunachaleshwara temple, who witnessed Swamiji manifesting Shaktis with Yogananda Puri, his guru, who had taught him yoga and the different aspects of yogic sciences. He even witnessed Swamiji levitating. In fact, one of the days just recently in the program, the participants had been able to go to a restaurant where Swamiji had levitated on the table of that restaurant. And that restaurant owner, till today, he remembers that incident with so much of eagerness, with so much of reverence for Swamiji. Understand that all of these people, these eyewitnesses from Swamiji's life, have seen and experienced Swamiji from a very young age, have the experience been entirely, have from a young age, Swamiji was entirely dedicated to the mission that he came down to planet Earth. Swamiji continuously reminds us, actually, that the people that he was with in the ambience of Tiruvannamalai were mutants, were spiritual mutants, where their very DNA itself was a higher consciousness, was able to radiate that higher consciousness. That is why they're called spiritual mutants. And they are a different species, a different community itself within our community. And this is what we wanted to talk about today. The various ways that over the last 20 years and in the lifetime of his happening on planet Earth, he has revived indigenous species and indigenous communities within the Hindu tradition, and he stands for the uniting of all indigenous and aboriginal nations across the world with the movement which is the Shrikailasa Uniting Nations for indigenous and aboriginal people. The whole movement, this global initiative, stands for uniting all the indigenous peoples for our common threads. Swamiji has explained beautifully, and we all know that in so many different ways, the indigenous cultures across the world have so many different common threads. In fact, within Hinduism, it is recognized that Paramashiva, when giving this science of enlightenment, he had given this science of enlightenment and given the exact way to build an ecosystem to all the rishis. All of these rishis, the Sapta rishis, and all of the ancient ancestors whom we have, went all over the world and established these enlightenment ecosystems, whether it was Peru, in North America, in so many places all over the world. These enlightenment ecosystems were established, and that is what we call indigenous nations.
Actually, talking about these indigenous nations, I just wanted to add a point. Swamiji is amazingly reviving this. We all know about, especially when I utter the word indigenous nations, this becomes literally an international topic, where there are so many organizations, including the United Nations, which stands for the cause of reviving these indigenous traditions. But Swamiji has been very, very successful in already reviving many indigenous tribes and traditions and communities. And these indigenous traditions that Swamiji is reviving, each of them are literally holding a science that is almost lost today from Sanatana Hindu Dharma. Like, I just wanted to quote an example over here. Swamiji is building the largest golden temple. And that largest golden temple is having a structure called Kalyana Kottadi Mandapam. And this is very unique, where only the Sthapatis, the people who build the temple, are only from the Pandya kingdom, like from the Madurai temple and in the surrounding areas, who know the science. And we have last 5 families only who are still having the knowledge of this, but in that already many people in their next generation is not ready to learn because they feel they're not going to get the job, and they're just seeing how like all the structures that they're doing and keeping, it's all getting destroyed. Like the whole thing, the attack that is happening to Sanatana Dharma, especially temples. So Swamiji beautifully, by building the largest Kalyana Kottadi Mandapam in the largest golden temple of Paramashiva. Swamiji has revived this entire community, giving the new life to them. Even today, we just listen from those tapatis. They will have tears in their eyes because it was Swamiji who brought back life to their entire community. So through that, preserving huge science.
And also I feel today, if we see indigenous traditions like what Mahasannidhanam and what you were talking, so indigenous traditions, one side revival like that Swamiji is doing. Center Shrikailasa itself is the nation for all of the Hindus. So all traditions, everything, it encompasses everything. But today I also feel somewhere people do not even understand how these indigenous traditions, losing them has caused a downfall in our ecosystem, has caused a downfall in respective nations. Today, when I read news articles about the, say, for example, very recently one that I saw is one about an ancient martial art. It is called Adimurai in Tamil. So in that last family also, that their very small section, they do not get a space in our own Indian government sports quota, doesn't have a space for that Adimurai. So like this, so many martial arts, so many things, so many traditions are lost. In fact, even deity making, like what you were sharing, so many people have lost that traditions, which directly creates a downfall in that entire country. What the country stands for, the country is losing its legacy. So if you see so many nations, like so many people who have these age-old traditions and all, they're completely lost today. I think Mahasannidhanam, when you were sharing, this is one thing that I understood, because mainly people do not even know the value. The moment when you introduce, right, that the discussion about this entire indigenous tradition, immediately I thought this one thing, people will not even know the value of what we are discussing. When we say that Swamiji has been reviving for more than 25 years now, so many like traditions that were in the verge of like becoming extinct is alive today because Swamiji is reviving them.
True. And not just that, if we see the way how this whole science is being revived, many lost sciences, which if it is there today in humanity, each person will, their individual lives will benefit in an amazing way. And
In Swamiji's life itself, he himself has told that hundreds, when he was living in Tiruvannamalai, hundreds of what were these extremely indigenous members whom he calls the spiritual mutants, these esteemed enlightened beings, such as Isaki Swamigal, Yogi Ram Surat Kumar, and so many different gurus who had mastered the science of Siddha. This is a very, very important aspect of the indigenous culture and in Adi Shaivism. In Adi Shaivism, this is a very indigenous tradition which is there, which is actually dying out, because today there's, as Swamiji has said in many discourses, even when he was alive, he could name 100 of these spiritual mutants who knew this science, the science of Siddha, for example. But today, there's not even a handful that is still there. That shows how endangered this lineage is, and the endangerment of these indigenous traditions which Swamiji is reviving. And for example,
Jaya, I just want to add one point. Maji, if you remember, even in living in the Yogini Sarvagya Peetham, I had been there. When I was there, if you remember, myself, Jaya and Mahatma Swami, all of us have been there. To so many, when we have met so many people, they did not even know the Yoginis, the tradition, like Yogini temple itself was somewhere closer to Ahmedabad. There are many temples, even in Gujarat, where we were staying at that point of time. So if you remember, Majaya, people did not even know the Yogini's tradition was existing. so many traditions that are lost. We do not even know where the temple is.
Actually, when we are telling especially about the Yogini's temple, I just remembered in 2014 December, we had a trip to Cambodia where like Swamiji conducted a meditation program in Cambodia called Shivoham, and we had over 600-700 participants who had gathered there. And Swamiji explained how each temple, the structure, how it was, why it was, etc. And at that time, so there was a very popular tourist spot called the temple. The temple was known because it was built by women and it had the deities of women, etc. But I never knew in our own country that Chatushashti Yogini temple in Hirapur, I never knew such a temple even existed till Swamiji revived it, till Swamiji brought it into existence. I never knew we had a temple that is so unique for the yoginis and only women are allowed inside.
I think you are talking about the Bente Shri temple in Cambodia. That I remember, like after Cambodia, I remember many of you were sharing. In fact, even you were sharing about this temple that was dedicated only for women, and it was such a I remember how many people were actually celebrating it, telling, "Oh, this entire temple is like completely for women. It is dedicated for certain section of women, like a certain group of women. It is dedicated for all of them." So same way, even like today, these yogini temples and all, like Atma Swami, even you were there, and I think even you should share about this. How much we saw, like when you were there in Yogini Sarvagyapeetham, where these ancient traditions, because these yoginis tradition was lost, this entire science of power manifestation that they were delivering was lost.
That is very important, a point you made, Ma. It is not, when we say losing out on traditions, it is not just a group of people, it is not just few customs or traditions, it's the whole knowledge transmission system and a unique aspect of knowledge that they held. If it is a Siddharth tradition, that unique methodology of treating, of healing, of medicine, when it comes to yoginis, like you mentioned, power manifestation, we are losing out on knowledge. That is something we all have to realize, and that is a very important component that Swamiji is bringing back, right? Along with the knowledge transmission, the tradition, the rituals, and the community. It's a complete revival from all aspects, all directions, is what I would like to say. Yes, ma'am. So I'd like to give the example here, just like as you were saying, Majaya, what is actually lost. For example, in Adipitam, in Adi Sarvagyapeetham in Bidadi, Bengaluru, we have 21-foot linga, which is Navapashana. That Navapashana, this science of Navapashana is actually a very, very sacred Siddha science. And unfortunately, we have come to the point in our history where the person who had constructed, who had designed and had made that linga, which is there in Vaidyasarovar in Bidadi today, is the last person who was able to understand that knowledge. Now to go and find another person or train another lineage, the amount of work that Swamiji will have to put into just that. Of course, as Paramashiva, he will do it, but we Hindus have to realize what we have lost. The Navapashana science has healed so many people just from Vaidyasarovar, the water that comes off the linga of Vaidyasarovar. We have so many testimonies of how the Aushadha bath has completely energized, completely made a new life for so many people.
Actually, I just wanted to explain that Navapashana concept that you were sharing. I think I just wanted to explain that word because Navapashana, meaning the combination of 9 different poisons, which when combined in the right proportions, in the right manner, as described by Paramashiva, will turn into the best medicine. So that the person, like as Masada Shukra was sharing, the person who had this knowledge, he was literally the last person in his community and he was feeling very bad. that this knowledge is just going to die with him and he's not able to do anything. And Swamiji ensured that he got that person to the Adinam and made him do the largest Navapashana Linga in the world. The 21-foot largest Navapashana Linga in the whole world. And Swamiji made it, and even today, thousands of people from various different countries just flock in there just to take a dip in the healing waters of the Vaidyasarovar. And why the healing is so powerful is because the time, if milk stays minimum 20 seconds on the Navapashana, it will gain those healing properties. So the whole 21-foot linga will ensure it's not just 20 seconds it will stay. It will be able to stay for more than 3 minutes on the linga. Like by the time it flows and comes down. So each time the Navapashana is, the milk is flowing over the Navapashana, the 9 poisons, which is literally the combination makes it into a nectar. So the milk will have amazing healing properties. So once it comes and lands and mixes with the water of Vaidyasarovar, the milk will not get spoiled for next 1 week.
Actually, even this example of Navapashana Linga, why he was the last person, if you see, because there is nobody to take the legacy forward. Today in India, if you see, every person, even before knowing what their goal is supposed to be, even if, before knowing what their life is, they'll finish engineering. So, like, engineering and all those, like, see, for example, the father would have been a great sculptor and will be a doctor. Irrelevant. But what we call it modern thinking, we call it liberal thinking, we call it that, oh, we have freedom. But unfortunately, this wrong idea of freedom today has made us lose so many traditions, so many people who knew specific arts. It was lost. Today, everyone, we feel it is so cool. Like anyone, now, for example, if the father is he's an artist and he's making certain deities, or if the parents are working as potters. Okay, when they do all of that, they feel the children feel, oh, it is very bad. How can I call myself like that? And everyone wants to be called a doctor, an engineer, and they would have wanted to finish a PhD or something like in that aspect, which that I feel is one of the worst collapse that people have done. The Britishers and the entire invaders have done to our tradition. Today, our Indians are sitting in ruling so many top companies, top software companies. Today, our Hindus who are born and brought up in our tradition, they are sitting. In fact, even Jnanathama, you were also like a born and brought up Hindu, but you were made to like you chose to study in the US. You chose to go and work in the US. So each of us today have lost it.
Actually, like Swamiji says, we first become an engineer and then you decide what you want to do. That is exactly what happened in my case as well. And along with me, so many of my other colleagues and other friends who are also Hindus, born Hindus, you don't decide anything at all about your career, especially if you are, being born and brought up in India. You keep focusing on your academics, finish your 12th, and then become an engineer, you don't know for what, and then even do a master's, you don't know for what, and you get a job, you don't know for what. Before even you realize you have finished your bachelor's, master's, and you have gotten a job without even knowing if this is what you wanted to do, if this is the lifestyle you wanted to live. That is exactly what happened with me, and I can tell with 100% assurance this has happened with my whole batchmates who are in India. None of them have any way of thinking of what lifestyle I want to live. It is just like, okay, this is the way the society goes, okay, let me just follow that path. Just like a herd of sheep, that is how we are and that is how we were, and that's personally definitely my case. And never we were given, and I didn't even know that you have an option to learn about Hinduism. Never we were taught the richness of the Vedagamic tradition. Now, even if I want to do research, right, there is so much research that we can do in Hinduism. We were the pioneers in research. And a few days back, we presented in the same segment how the rishis of the Vedagamic times, they were the pioneers of research in mathematics, in medicine, in surgery, in astrology, in astronomy. There is nothing which is not there in the Vedagamic texts. If
Actually,
we
ma'am,
can
when you're
do
telling
proper
about this,
research and development.
when you're telling about this, like today when we tell to anybody, people ask, oh, what do you do? And when we tell that we are doing research in Hinduism, we are learning Hinduism, people are like, what? What is that to learn in Hinduism? The whole thing, the cognition, it has become so poor. Unless Swamiji has bought this Nithyananda Hindu University, through which Swamiji's now, actually there are more than 1 million students, I think 1.5 million students who have become part of the Nithyananda Hindu University and are learning Hinduism. If Swamiji would have not done this, like, this is a huge contribution. That is now only people are even understanding that Hinduism can be a subject. Otherwise, people usually treat it as if, oh, okay, you want to go and you want to become a priest, you can sit and learn. And that too, when I'm telling a priest, it's not with that respect, oh, a temple priest. No, it is treated as if it's a very low-level subject.
Actually, here itself, I remember Atma Swami has shared with me that
Actually,
background her
when I
entire
was-
family comes
I grew up.
how entirely like Atma Swami's parents, what they were doing versus how she was completely not even aware. I think Atma Swami, you should really share that with everyone.
Exactly. See, actually, I came from my pre-monastic life is from the background of Vishwakarma. So when I saw my grandfather doing such a great jewelry, see, the Vishwakarma community itself has 5 sects. In that 5 sect, each sect has mastered in one particular art. So when we see the way they make those articles, that itself is a statement. Actually, if you see when Swamiji comes for the satsang, when he wears the kind of jewelry, the jewelry itself speaks on its own. It might be a pendant, but it says a lot. The intricacies, the art which is inside it gives the life to the whole, what to say, that itself is a statement. So like this, if we see each part of this Vishwakarma has its own, what to say, the power manifestation signs. For example, I can tell you, my grandfather, once he was telling a story, he knows how to give the life to the stone, and he can literally make that stone fly in the air. That kind of knowledge was kept alive, and the next generation, when it comes to my pre-monastic father generation itself, now they are in a want to make their life happen, for their livelihood happen. The whole science has been kept aside, and it just, the whole science is no more. But as Swamiji said, it is such an important thing where we have to keep this whole science alive. It is not just a science. It is not just an art. It's not just about the articles which we make. It is because when we are living that art, the kind of the brain grooves, the active brain grooves which are there, is the main factor which gives actual life. So as Jnanatma Swami was sharing, like after the engineering only, we even think what we wanted to do. See, actually, if you
I
see
have the question for what you're sharing. It's so nice, actually. I never knew that you were from the Vishwakarma community. Honestly, till I met Swamiji, and Swamiji explained the greatness of the community and how Swamiji is reviving. Like, we have more than 500, I think 5,000 deities that we have made and revived the whole Vishwakarma community. So I just have one question. Before you coming and meeting Swamiji, did you know about your community and the values of it? Like, how were you feeling about your community, and what was your experience about it?
this is one sweet sharing which I really wanted to share. So it's like I even got to know I'm from Vishwakarma community is just by Swamiji. So in one of the meetings, Swamiji was explaining the whole Vishwakarma community, and Swamiji himself told, "Hey, you are from Vishwakarma community, and this is how the whole the whole science was kept alive." Then when I dig back to my pre-monastic family, then they were telling all these kind of stories. It was very sweet. The depth of the knowledge is by Swamiji, and actually Swamiji told it is very easy. Even just by one tap, he can awaken the whole knowledge into our in our DNA, which is like
Actually, Swami,
yes.
I can so totally relate with what you're saying, because I've been around when Swamiji gives energy darshan, and I can maybe share a few hundred examples which I have personally witnessed, where the person who comes, the participant for any program, when they come for the physical energy darshan, they only give their name and which place they are from. That's it. Swamiji brings their entire family history. What is their Kuladevata? Which is their temple? What is their family business? What they used to do? What were they well known for? Everything. Just the name. The participant's name, the participant's father's name, which place they are from. That's all. Then the whole history about their indigenous tradition, which community they belonged, what the community was well known for, and how that has been destroyed today in a way that participant would have never even heard. Swamiji has revealed it so many times. So when you are saying that Swamiji shared it with you and you yourself did not know, we can also easily relate with it, because I have personally witnessed hundreds of such cases. Please go ahead.
Actually, this one I wanted to give an example to Ma. When a person came with the surname Dubey, Swamiji told, "Do you know what is the meaning of it?" And people came with the name Dvivedi and all that. Swamiji then explained how that term Dvivedi became, as time passed, it was made into Dubey. Dvivedi is how a person who knows two different Vedas, and the whole community is for that. So Swamiji, Swamiji told them, and that person started digging into their asking their parents and everything. Only then they came to know. Only when they connected with their grandparents, only then the grandparents told, they even came to know that is the way how it is. And when I'm telling about this whole thing, why when we are talking about family, we are talking about communities, I just wanted to explain the whole context. Why in Sanatana Hindu Dharma we have this, where the son follows what the father is doing. This I just wanted to explain. When you want to become a doctor, what do? You start going and being with the people who are all doctors. When you want to, if you should be having the title of a best surgeon, how is that title decided? Based on the number of surgeries that you have done, they'll tell you, oh, this doctor has done these many surgeries. And your experience is the one that speaks your legitimacy, speaks your credibility. This is because only when you have more experience, only when your involvement into that particular subject is more, you start specializing in that. Today's economy, today's way the society is functioning, it is from binary logic. So you only tell, okay, your life starts here, your life ends here, and you have only this much time. And when I'm telling life starting, not when you're born, only when you start your career, and there's a retirement time. So within this time, you are supposed to get involved in something and start specializing in that. There are some people who, some people from out of their passion from childhood start evolving into a particular thing, and they become successful people in their and become specialized in whatever they're doing. Something we need to understand. Our muscle memory and our biomemory, these two play an important role in what is making us successful. When you brush your teeth, you don't remember every time, you're not aware, okay, I'm brushing this teeth, I'm brushing that teeth, right? It just comes as a practice because that memory is already stored into your muscle memory. So it just comes as an automatic. The same way, from birth, all the practices you do starts getting stored into your muscle memory, and your body, your entire thinking system starts evolving from that. And where do you get your biomemory and muscle memory from? From your birth. So whatever specializations your parents are having, you will also have the same DNA inside you. And from childhood, if you know clearly, this is what I want to become. Like your father, let's say your father is a sculptor. So you start seeing him, and he also starts from childhood. When he knows that you are also going to become a sculptor, he'll train you. He'll continue to train you in that same aspect, in the same profession, and he'll make sure he is giving all his best to you. So you are in
a position to explain for the viewers. We used two terms, right? Muscle memory and biomemory. Now, for those of you who are watching, and if you don't know what these are, all our habits, for example, if you are somebody who is used to drinking coffee in the morning, you wake up in the morning 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock, and when you wake up, automatically an alarm clock goes inside you saying coffee. Until you drink that coffee, you will never be able to switch off that alarm clock. Continuously, there will be something nagging you to be able to do that act. Or, for example, if you can never pass your stool without reading a newspaper. There are people who have those habits. Only if you read the newspaper, you can even you can pass your stool in the morning. These are habits. These habits are stored in our so-called muscle memory. These are memories that are stored in our muscles, which get activated every day. And more you engage into that habit, more and more they get strengthened inside you. I used to be one such person where in the morning when I wake up, within 10 minutes, I have to have a cup of coffee. Otherwise, my whole head will break. Literally, my head will break. I will have a physical headache. So these habits are stored in your muscle memory. Now, what is biomemory? All the cognitions, the ideas that you have about you is stored in your biomemory. So all the cognitions, okay, I am unlucky, nothing works for me. Most of it sometimes is negative cognitions about ourselves. Things will not work. Whatever I say, I don't know, somebody always comes ahead of me and stops my path. Nothing just really works out. And we may have something also, I'm very active, I'm very sincere, I'm very hardworking. But you know what, there is always something, I've never had luck, I've always had this fate. I don't know when things are going to change. So all the ideas, the cognitions that we hold about ourselves are stored in our biomemory. That is what is our biomemory. All the habits, the actions, the habits that we do, which are regular, are stored in our muscle memory. Yes, ma, please go ahead.
Thank you so much for explaining, ma'am. So this muscle memory and biomemory comes from birth itself. So when your parents are specializing in something, they pass that same DNA to you. They pass that biomemory and muscle memory to you. So you are in no position to with the necessity to reinvent something. All you need to do is just from whatever position you are, you just need to start evolving into the next levels. Whatever you have got, whatever memories, like all the skill set, the specializations you can got, you start evolving and you start specializing more. That is why we have amazing temples with unique, like we have the temple like in Brihadishwara temple, where no shadow falls on the ground at any point of the day. So all these specializations can happen only when the biomemory is just passed on through generations. And from childhood, you are completely focused on that particular subject. and start getting involved and specializing.
Actually, when you're explaining this, I'm able to understand how by each, like what you told, how that family is carrying, the next generation carries that in their biomemory. So I'm able to relate by every one revival how Swamiji is saving each of those indigenous tribes and indigenous communities that are like being lost today. So if you see the whole like for example temple, like the Kalyana Kottadi example you gave, sacred arts, the deity making, and same way even this Vaidya Sarovar, the Navapashana Linga, and through Gurukul, so many people who are actually who study Vedas, who only study Vedas, who only like learn Agamas, Shivacharyas, because in fact in Gurukul we have authentic Shivacharyas who come and teach us how to do homas, how to offer, how to understand the Paddhatis, all of them. And Swamiji himself is reviving so many Upanishads. Swamiji himself has given his commentaries on Shivat Sutras, on Ishavasya Upanishad, so many things like that. So we learn the Upanishads, and through like each of these aspects, through each and every single Shrikailasa Uniting Nations that Swamiji has created, literally one indigenous laws, traditions are being revived. And when his
Actually, Nithyananda, one thing that we really need to understand about indigenous traditions. Now, India is the birthplace of thousands of indigenous traditions. Actually, each and every community is an indigenous tradition of its own. They had their own land, they have their own rituals, they have their own rites, they have their own customs, they have their own practices. Actually, the way each of the castes, the so-called castes or communities in India, how they cook, what kind of food they eat, their lifestyle, the way they celebrate the festivals, everything will be different. And their rituals, their customs, how Diwali is celebrated by each and every caste will be different, even though it's the same Diwali festival. So, like that, we had thousands of indigenous communities which had their own rituals, rites, customs, traditions. Now today, it is so unfortunate that in India, each and every indigenous tradition is being uprooted. Now, I had the fortune of interacting and different indigenous leaders across the world, in the western part of the world. The countries where the land from these indigenous tribes have been taken, but now the government is considerate that yes, the land has been taken from them, but they also need to thrive. So the indigenous groups are given their own reservations, whether you consider it in the US or in Canada or in different parts of the world. The indigenous groups are given their own land, and within their land, they practice their customs, rituals, rites, traditions. Even today, even in the most developed countries, US and Canada, there are indigenous tribes which are respected for who they are and have the right to practice their rites, customs, rituals and traditions. It is good that these indigenous nations and indigenous tribes have some way to retain their authenticity. However, in India, not only we have lost all the Hindu lands, the indigenous lands, we do not have freedom to practice the indigenous rites. Today in Karnataka, in our ashram in Bengaluru, if we want to practice one of the most ancient indigenous ritual of fire walking, I cannot, because it is banned as a superstitious ritual in my very homeland. So how is it even possible that somebody can practice their indigenous rites, their customs, their rituals? It is impossible. It is why all the more we need Shrikailasa. We need Kailasa as the only Hindu nation where such indigenous customs, rituals, traditions can be revived, can be practiced. At least one place in the world where the Hindu indigenous culture can be revived, can be practiced is today Kailasa. Because India, not just we lost our indigenous land, we are losing every freedom. Dear Hindus, please wake up. We are 2 billion Hindus in the world, but today we don't have one place where our rituals, our customs, our rites can be followed and for us to live them. And for us to practice the religious freedom, we don't have one single piece of land. And that is why all more, Kailasa, the only Hindu nation, revival of these indigenous traditions. And Kailasa as the only Hindu nation, along with Shrikailasa Uniting Nations, for the revival of indigenous and aboriginal nations. We are forming and shaking hands with different indigenous nations, indigenous communities around the world. So just their practices can be revived, but the entire indigenous culture can be revived across different civilizations, different nations. It is extremely important, and we as Hindus are not aware of what we are losing. That is why we, all the 2 billion Hindus around the world, we need to understand the importance of Kailasa. If Kailasa as the only Hindu nation is not being revived today, 50 years down the lane, Hinduism will be completely wiped out from the face of planet. All the greatest Hindu traditions, rituals like fire walking, body piercing, so many piercing the on your cheeks, all these are great traditions to awaken your inner potential energy, to awaken your kundalini energy, to make you experience higher consciousness. These are being wiped from the face of planet Earth. These traditions are becoming extinct in a way that Hindus don't even know the benefit of such traditions. So Swamiji, with a lot of compassion, with an effort, is reviving in the form of Kailasa, the only Hindu nation, reviving the ancient Hindu indigenous cultures, rituals, rites, customs, and traditions.
Yes,
Through the only Hindu nation, not that. Kailasa Uniting Nations, for the revival of the indigenous and aboriginal traditions. We are handshake and collaborating with indigenous traditions, culture, communities around the world, indigenous nations around the world, so all the indigenous practices can be revived. Yes, Majaya.
Yes, Ma, there's so much that you shared with us. I would just like to add on. First of all, body piercing is banned today in the name of superstition, because while I was reading through the UNESCO website, it clearly says that as long as the indigenous practices, the cultures and traditions are aligned to the human rights policies, then they should be encouraged. I can understand that maybe if it's a cannibal tradition, if they're affecting somebody else's life, or their customs and traditions is such that it is harming another life, I can even cognize a need to ban it. But in terms of fire walking or body piercing, it is completely intentional, voluntary that somebody is entering into the practice. It is not causing any harm to anybody else or any community or anything. And added on to that, it is a process for enlightenment, a process for conscious evolution. It is a spiritual process. What is the need to ban in the first place? Can't we understand by this that it is not in the interest of protecting any rights of humans or anything? It is directly, very, very visibly against Hinduism and against Sanatana Hindu Dharma.
No, what you don't understand is alcohol is not banned. No, in India, alcohol is not banned. Smoking is not banned. All that is extremely injurious to health is not banned. Fire walking, which awakens your Kundalini Shakti, which is an ancient ritual towards out of your devotion to the God, to your Guru. When you do the fire walking, how much good happens in your system, and not just that, how much of immunity develops in your body, even health-wise. Forget about the religious benefits, even health benefits of fire walking. There are hundreds of benefits. When alcohol, when smoking, all these are being encouraged. Every street there is a bar, there is an alcohol shop. When all these are being encouraged in the so-called Hindu land of India, why is fire walking being banned? Is there even an organization which can raise their voice to support these ancient indigenous traditions? You are being persecuted. You are being called as a sex swami. You are being called as a fugitive. You are being assassinated. And that is why we need a Hindu nation. That is why we need Kailasa, where we have the religious freedom to live our indigenous culture. Yes, Mata Tupriya.
So
Another point I would like to make
talking
here, ma'am.
about this indigenous traditions, the violent practices. I just want to address the cognitions Sanatana Hindu Dharma teaches. Like how only when Swamiji explained this and gave it as an experience, I even understood the difference. I used to think Hinduism means okay, you have to go worship in the temple and like you go pray and you come back. No, there's lot more in Sanatana Hindu Dharma. Even the fundamental cognitions that we cherish is we cherish the idea of oneness, peaceful coexistence. We cherish the cognition of how divine exists in everything. This is so much life positive. Whereas there are many religions and traditions that drives you to kill something, kill someone, be violent towards someone, treat someone low. Those are what is against human rights. But what our tradition is, there is absolutely nothing against human rights here. Only when Swamiji explained these, I even understood the difference. The problem is, people only show you like how they show on TV. They don't tell why we do fireworking. They don't tell why we do what practice. They don't tell any of that. They tell, firewalking. They tell some wrong narrative, all made up, cooked up rumors. They just tell whatever they want. And the general mass, they just consume that and that becomes a memory. Like how we have seen how it happened to Swamiji. The media completely not just twisted, but they started telling some dirty, cheap lies for their TRP rate. When people are continuously watching these go and stay inside them as a memory. And as a result, when it's staying in as a memory, whenever they look at a certain thing, they project that same memory and they start having that as an experience. This is why, like if you see everything Hindu is being attacked, and when it is positioned in such a way, it is just made like as if like the whole Sanatana Hindu Dharma is bad and with all kinds of wrong narratives. And the most important thing that we all need to understand through this is when all these sort of things are happening, they attack it as separate communities. The divide and rule policy. They tell, this is this community. First, they'll agitate by making the communities separate. One of the worst things when they bought in the thing, the son should not follow father's job. If someone is following what your father is doing, they were ridiculed, they were harassed, they were bullied, and they were insulted. So when this is bought in, and like this whole idea is just completely broken, what happens as a result? Community systems are
Actually, like we were speaking about the how the indigenous rites and rituals are being destroyed today, and we are not having the religious freedom to follow these indigenous rites. Now we were discussing about firewalking and body piercing. Now today, we even as Hindus know firewalking and body piercing only as certain actions that need to be done. But what is the science behind it? What really happens when somebody does firewalking or body piercing is not known even to us. So that is why when we as Hindus, when a superstitious law is imposed on us, banning firewalking, don't even know what to say. Swami is so beautiful, the benefits of firewalking. He says certain mutation, certain actions need to be done to our body. Fire walking and taking bath in turmeric water is one of the powerful mutations that happen. The side effect is health. But there are other side effects where certain intense energies are awakened and the negativities inside us are nullified. The depth with which we each of us feel violence and feel violated, with that same depth, if we do tyaga and have the commitment, devotion, that violence in us will be muted. So the fire walking and body piercing is to remove the feeling that they are violent. Now the actions with which we feel violated, if we are forced to it, you are doing it voluntarily in the name of devotion, commitment and tyaga to either your Ishtadevata or to your Guru. It becomes tapas. It becomes a mutation of our fundamental instinct. For example, if you are pierced, somebody is poking you and piercing you with a needle, immediately we will feel violated. If somebody puts a fire on you, or one part of your body is exposed to fire, immediately you will feel violated. Some part of you is as if it is being destroyed. We will become violent. Now, when that same instinct is kindled, we go through that same violation, but that same action, now with the clarity, I am dedicating it to my Kuladev, I am dedicating it to my Ishtad, I am dedicating it to my I am dedicating it to transmutes the whole feeling violation. So that feeling violation gets transmuted or gets muted through the feeling of tyaga, the tapas. The tapas transmutes the feeling of being violated and violence. Now this is a powerful science where the feeling being violated is one of the fundamental patterns with which human beings are stuck. And how they are being relieved of this fundamental pattern of feeling violated or having that innate violence through the practice of fire walking or body piercing. So these indigenous traditions today, because we don't know the science, because we don't know the benefit, we don't even know what we are doing, and this is what is reviving through the Kailasa Uniting Nations of revival of these indigenous and aboriginal traditions, and that is what is being Kailasa, the only Hindu nation.
Nanatma Swami.
Yes, ma.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Please go ahead.
Yeah. I think I just wanted to try and summarize or try and present the volume and the levels at which Swamiji is working to revive the indigenous community and the traditions, the enlightenment-based traditions. I feel words are too less to express, but I will just make an attempt. For example, like you were saying, first of all is educating all of us, teaching us, making us understand the real context behind the science. While you were sharing about what Swamiji has said about fire walking, it is such an amazing concept, so logically explained, understandable. So each one of us are inspired to take on and actually practice this tradition. That is one level. This is just fire walking that you mentioned, but Swamiji has explained at the context and educated all of us about so many various traditions. That is first. Second of all, when we kept saying Swamiji is reviving indigenous traditions, it is, I just want to explain how it actually comes down to. Swamiji is looking for identifying the indigenous communities, the practitioners of indigenous traditions, let's say stapatis or deity makers or various people who have specialized in these arts and are losing out because they don't have a job or they're not being paid or for various reasons, inviting them, giving them a place in our Adinam where they can stay, giving them all the infrastructure such that they can practice their tradition, whether it is deity making, whether it is jewelry making, whether it is silver work, whether it is woodwork, carving, various things. I think I can let the others also share. But inviting them, giving them a place, supporting them with free food, free accommodation for them and their whole family, free education for their children in the Nithyananda Gurukul, completely taking care of all their needs so that they can practice their tradition
And not just that, but letting them continue the tradition. For example, Shivacharyas, he is now making a facility where our balasans, all the sannyasis, are learning from the Shivacharyas so we can carry forward the knowledge tradition. So at various different levels, Swamiji is working from educating the masses by coming in live satsang, by educating all of us, and the ground level work of supporting this tradition, whether it is artists, inviting them for all our festivals, paying them, supporting them, whether it is the cloth that we're wearing, the Mangalgiri, whether we're giving. I request Mahatma Swami also to share just about the Mangalgiri, which is the material that we all sannyasis wear, which is pure cotton, which is also a dying tradition today. So maybe I can request her to share more about that.
Yes, so the art of weaving the Mangalgiri cotton. See, at present, if we see the very cloth, I just want to give a little introduction about Mangalgiri cotton. It is the cotton where you will not even feel the weight of it. You will feel so light. Like this, we have a lot of traditions which actually gives the depth of the knowledge. A maximum of us might know, like Britishers, when one of the Britishers came to India, we have given a sari in a one small matchbox. So it is a 6-yard sari which was fit in one small matchbox. That means the talent which we have, which we, in a course of time where we have lost that knowledge, this indigenous community is the one which actually has a potential to revive the whole science. So this is one of the things Swamiji is doing, is getting all that kind of knowledge and science back to our day-to-day lifestyle. Whether you may call it as the dress which we are wearing, or the jata style which we are wearing, everything, the whole lifestyle itself is a very example or a revival of each art. So before satsang, we used to have kirtans. So the art of kirtans, the dancing, and when the whole body is ready to take the knowledge, then the powerful cognitions have been given. So the whole lifestyle itself is such way where we are reviving. Swamiji is reviving the whole science of enlightenment in this indigenous community, and
Exactly, how the Kailasa is the revival of indigenous enlightenment tradition. Like, see, even the celebration is the beauty of the Sanatana Hindu Dharma. Everything is indigenous. Every 100 kilometers, it has its own cooking style. It has its own dressing style, like how we just said. Not only dressing style, it has its own fabric. Such colorful, rich, indigenous, self-sustaining system we used to have. Even the Taluk, self-sustaining, there was no transportation. But every Hindu had everything. One of the biggest sickness the humanity has been forced to suffer with the idea of the chronic capitalism. We Hindus were so indigenous, so colorful, rich, and also independent in everything. Those days, each house was an independent unit. Some used to say each house was an independent unit. We used to have few fruits, few vegetables, herbs, trees, which is not only for their self-sustain, even for their medical needs. We were such a powerful indigenous tradition. And also I have a question before we move on to the next thing. It is not a question. I would like to remind us and all the 2 billion of Hindus who are watching. We have been told by anti-Hindu that Hinduism is responsible for our poverty. But that is not the truth. They swindled money from us, and they used to tell that we Hindus are poor. But that is not true. But what I will say is, like, we not practice the Hindu thought currents. That is where we miss our responsibility. That is the reason for our poverty. Not practicing our dharma, the artha, and karma, the moksha system is responsible for our poverty. So till these fellows invaded us, we were so richest country in the world. We Hindus were so richest in everything, and we are the richest country in the world. Otherwise, why they will come and invade us if we are so poor and ignorant? And
That is very true, Ma. Because I was just reading an excerpt from one of the Ask the Avatar sessions where somebody asks Swamiji as to why we are in the state we are today. Why have we come down from being such a glorious tradition with so many sciences, technologies, so advanced in the past? Why have we come down to the subhuman level today? Swamiji very beautifully says, he sums it all up into one line, saying that we had the power, but we did not execute it with the responsibility, just as you said. Right?
like,
So,
even Ma, like, why
over
the Gati
time,
Mugham will come?
we
Exactly.
continue to have the signs, but we did not realize.
Sorry, I was just about to say why the Gajini Mugam will come to Somnath for 17 times. We should know why. That's what, ma'am. Please go ahead.
Yes. See, no doubt, of course, we have been attacked, persecuted, misrepresented. That is one side of it. But what are we really going to do to ensure that this doesn't continue and to revive our traditions? It is high time we wake up now and at least now take up the responsibility. Right? So, Swamiji says, both will not work. You cannot just have power and no responsibility. That is going to end up like this whole declination that we have gone through. You cannot just have responsibility and no power. Right? That will just be like.
Sorry, ma'am.
Please go ahead.
How you are sharing, even in our indigenous tradition, no farmer will go without donating the local people. No local temples will miss their responsibility even in maintaining the stretch of their roads. It's perfectly and not monitored and superly managed. Everything will be managed. Nobody will monitor the system. The full system.
Actually, I would like to put it like this, like I just think like in a slightly different way. The whole economy, the way how the community system was functioning, it was so beautifully brought into an alignment where the individual freedom can be experienced. When Swamiji keeps telling about the liberated thinking, Swamiji always tells how Kapila Muni was the first person to have the liberated thinking. We have Kapila Muni deities in many of our Sarvanya Peedams, be it in Adi Kailash or even in Los Angeles, we have Kapila Muni. And he was the person who established Mahanirvana Kada, for which Swamiji is a Mahamandaleshwara. So Kapila Muni was the person who had this liberated thinking. And when Swamiji spoke about liberated thinking, I couldn't understand it so much. But only now when digesting that cognition again and again, and when I see about this whole community system, how in an amazing way where they're not diverted into anything else, they have a clarity what they want in life, they have a clarity how they want to achieve it, and they have the whole support mechanism. That individual is no more going to be controlled by anyone else. Otherwise, we all know how it feels when you're in your 10th grade or in your 12th grade. Each person will be advising, giving big lectures of what you have to do for your do as the next course. Each person is
like how you were saying, we were not controlled, and also we were not monitored. We were just superly managed by the whole indigenous tradition system. And see, we have to understand one thing. We all have to understand one thing. Being monitor is different, and being managed is different. Our Sanatana Hindu Dharma was completely and not unmonitored. It was the structure in a way we all was used to. They used to manage the system in a very dharmic way. Like for an example, nobody is monitoring the sun and the moon. They are managed, and they managed by their strength of their own integrity. Same in Kailasa, the dharma is happening without being monitored, but managed by its own will, by its own integrity. And also, if the most important thing in Kailasa is, in our Shrikailasa, is celebrating the life of Hinduism is centered on the dharma, artha, kama, moksha. The principle of moksha is celebrate the life, celebrate by the lifestyle of dharma, and which shares and generates and share artha, which is intensely celebrate joy by kama. We were not unmonitored but maintained by its own integrity. How the dharma, like in Kailasa, the dharma does not create stress in Kailasa. The Kailasa Vasi, the citizen, it is not in law which needs to enforce, which needs enforcement department. It is the dharma which needs enlightenment department. We all were, unfortunately, the problem is, unfortunately, we followed British, and we still following.
Actually, just the whole, I just wanted to clarify one thing over here. Like, it's just as an example, a living example that we have today is a system that Swamiji has established here. Like, where we do not follow the British rules, or it's not from that cognition. Instead, it is from the way how the enlightened civilization functions. That is how Shrikailasa functions. That is how every Kailasa ecosystem functions. So Swamiji ensures that the whole mechanism is made in such a free, lubricated way. We are not forced to do anything. We do it out of our own inspiration. The right context is given to you. I take krama, this brahmacharya lifestyle, not because someone forced me to. Nobody forced me. I wanted to take, and I actually literally I fought for it. I wanted it so much because it was so inspiring the way how Swamiji gave us experience and made us understand the context. So the right context and the inspiration is given to do the right thing. And you just do it, and you're not controlled by anything.
Actually, I remember Mahasannidhanam was actually quoting one thing that Swamiji was saying, where it the corporate hierarchical structure that exists versus the structure, the simultaneous way the society that was functioning. In Mahasannidhanam Satsang, Swamiji will tell every human being, like the cosmic law, if you see how it functions, how it happens in everyone, is a rhythmic continuum. Like the whole thing is happening simultaneously, continuously in a rhythmic pattern. For example, so many structures, like so many traditions that we have. Hinduism encompasses everything. So even if a person is interested in believing only in deity, there's a tradition for him. If a person is interested not in believing deity but only worshipping the nature, there's a tradition for him. If a person is interested in saying that he is God, there's a tradition for him. If a person is interested in saying that he is a servant of God, there's a tradition for him. And even if a person is interested in saying that there is no deity, there is no this thing, but just I can worship myself, the God in me, there's a tradition for him. Every single person, there is a tradition. And all of these traditions, people think there's so much of chaos. That is where Swamiji says, this entire thing, the entire way Hinduism functions, there is so much of order in the chaos. That is what is fascinating, because continuously we function simultaneously. Today, even what Swamiji is reviving, Swamiji is not just standing for one particular religion, one particular tradition. He's like if you see, there are so many congregations of Shrikailasa, there are so many traditions, sampradayas that Swamiji is reviving. Yoginis, Rudras, Brahmacharis, Brahmacharinis, Sannyas. In Sannyas, it is so many orders. And Rishis, Rishikas, Grahastha order, Vanaprasthis. so many people, Vishwakarma community that Swamiji has revived, deity making, everything we have lost, we do not even know. But I feel today, if anyone in the world has to even understand this, even has to cognize, because I have seen so many people, even so many, this is an experience that I wanted to share. There was a particular Mahamandaleshwar who had come, and they were, so when they saw, when Swamiji, I fortunately had an opportunity to see that along with all the Adinavasis that were able to witness how Swamiji was personally talking to that Mahamandaleshwar and explaining the whole thing. And he was shocked. Right from Akhadas, which is in the North India, to the most rare Adinams, which is the South India, and reviving the 13 kingdoms that were lost, how Swamiji was reviving each and every community, each and every tradition. And Mahamandaleshwar told that as he was very old, I think, I'm not very sure, but easily around 80 years or something. And he was saying, everything authentically, not with just our own understanding, authentically Swamiji is reviving as per the scriptures. The authenticity of it is maintained. So he was saying in his entire years of life, there's so many years that he has lived in, around 80 years, he has not seen such an authentic person who knows to simultaneously function. And then he quoted saying Swamiji is one of the best leaders that has happened to Sanatana Hindu Dharma. Of course, he's not just a leader, he's Paramashiva, but he's the best today. There is no one who can revive, who can actually stand, who's literally who can spearhead Hinduism the way Swamiji is doing it.
And I just wanted to add a point over here. The way how, especially about Swamiji, I think it's high time we all realize, if you are a Hindu who wants to really do something for protecting Hindus, we all can put tweets, we all can put comments, we all can make posts, can do that. But when someone is actually working and showing the results, I think it's high time that we all cognize that we can invest our time, treasure, and energy, anything, into that particular place where all our dreams of achieving the best for Hinduism can become reality. When each of us are sharing about these communities, we are getting messages, we are getting comments where people are sharing with us about how they want to bring back this whole system, how they want to bring back. And even some people had even messaged me telling that they want to be a part of this revival. And Swamiji has opened the doors in a beautiful way. He has made so many things which are available where you can become a part of this. And this is really important because as a Hindu, we have the responsibility to revive what is being lost. Like how we tell, if this planet Earth has to be alive for next few hundred years at least, it's each of our individual responsibilities who own, all of us together own the planet. So it's each of our responsibilities to protect and save our planet. Exactly like that. Every Hindu, it is our responsibility to protect and save Hindus. Usually, we all look for a leader who can protect, and we are blessed that we have an avatar with us who is guiding us and who is showing every result in action.
Actually, this reminds me that I wanted to share with everyone that Shrikailasa that Swamiji is reviving. It is for every single Hindu. Today, there are 2 billion Hindus around the world, many of whom do not even know how to celebrate, do not even know who is the right person to answer their question. Shrikailasa is the best answer to every single Hindu around the globe, every single person. To break from this monotonic, this entire corporate hierarchy-based world, the entire structure that we are put in. Like when Jnanatmama was sharing, she was saying, we're all like a sheep made to follow. Finish this, do this, do this. That versus how our tradition, our Sanatana Hindu Dharma is. I think we all should directly listen to Swamiji. How Swamiji is sharing this entire the structure that the society is based on. And now today we have the simultaneously happening Sanatana Hindu Dharma, the entire community and the structure.
Actually, one thing I want to say, a real Hindu means a person who has been initiated, who has taken the Shiva Diksha level 1, the Samaya Diksha, is when you actually start becoming a Hindu as per the Hindu rituals. See, otherwise you may be a born Hindu, but you are not an initiated Hindu. Only when you get initiated into Hinduism, just through the initiation of the Guru, you get downloaded so many different powerful cognitions about Hinduism. You experience Hinduism, you can call yourself a Hindu. The first and foremost preparatory first level initiation for the 2 billion Hindus around the world is what we call as the Shiva Diksha level 1 or Samaya Diksha. Please, we invite each and every Hindu, whether you are a born Hindu or a practicing Hindu or curious about Hinduism or want to learn about Hinduism, take the first initiation, first experience Hinduism. You can never describe the taste of an apple or the sweetness of an honey. Only you have to taste it and see. Like that, you can never understand about Hinduism until you experience it yourself. And that experience can happen to you this weekend. Because every weekend, we are having the Diksha into power manifestation, an introduction to Hinduism, which is open to anybody. Can just come, learn, experience Hinduism.
Dreadlock, long hair will be the lifestyle for them. Time immemorial, all enlightened traditions, enlightenment-based traditions, know the secret long hair and jata as a power to retain powerful cognitions inside your head. That's all. Why, how, logic? I'll explain later. You can see this deity, the Dakshinamurti above me, is painted properly as per the Agama Lakshana. So one measure face, one measure jata, and 3 measure shoulder, 1 measure hip. These are the measurements. Usually for any mid-level temple, the deity, 1 measure is 18 grain. 18 Tanjavur Ponni rice. Kaveriyal vilainda Mulu Ponni nel. 18 nel or unit. A mid-level temple will use only that size of the deity. Of course, bigger temples use bigger deities, no doubt. Tiruvannamalai and all is a gigantic deities. Madurai, of course, Madurai Utsavamurti is little small, but other deities are gigantic. And all practicing Hindus should be proud of. You belong to indigenous enlightenment-based tradition. Understand? Whether you belong to a Shaivite from Kanchipuram or Shaivite from Kashmir or Madhva Brahmin from Udupi or Iyengar from Srirangam or Iyer from Tanjavur or Vedanti from Andhra or whatever. We all belong to indigenous enlightenment based tradition. That's one of the connecting narrative of Hinduism. Indigenous enlightenment-based tradition. Understand? There is something called collective narrative, grand narrative, connective narrative, which I am describing now is connecting narrative. Indigenous enlightenment-based traditions. Pachamama in Bolivia and Pachayamma in Thiruvannamalai is same. Enlightenment-based tradition where the greenery is worshipped as Parashakti, cosmic feminine energy. Pachamama in Bolivia, Pachayammal in Thiruvannamalai. The same goddess. Understand? Indigenous enlightenment-based traditions.
A satsang from the Swamiji delivered, I think it was on the 10th of February 2020. And so the topic, like many people who are asking where to watch the entire satsang, the topic of the satsang is Introduction to Hinduism and Existence. So this is a satsang, it's very well available on Kailasa's Nithyananda YouTube channel. So all of you can go and watch it. So how Swamiji is explaining. One important thing Swamiji was telling is the communities that we had in our enlightened civilization was spread all across the globe. Each place, honestly, if you all see, we have the largest temple, Angkor Wat, which is built in Cambodia, is a part of our tradition, of our Vedic civilization. And we had that power, like we had all the legitimacy for Hinduism, we were spread all across the globe. Like how Swamiji tells, 56 deshas. And now Swamiji is reviving the Shrikailasa, through which the whole, be it the communities being revived, or the way the system of the Varnashrama and how the economy is balanced, whether all those getting revived, Swamiji is reviving every single thing. And not just that, Swamiji is making sure that he is putting this whole thing the way we want, which is suitable for this current situation, current day, our day-to-day life.
Also, this reminds me of one beautiful sharing, one beautiful story that I've heard. How these indigenous traditions, when they are lost, how they will not have the sign. So when I had visited one temple, so I had heard this story, and this temple is in a place in Kumbakonam, near Kumbakonam. There's a place it's dedicated to Lord Muruga. The story of this temple is very, very beautiful. It is true, not story, it is true also. Where the sculptor actually, he carves, it's a very unique carving of Muruga, where the entire 6 faces is all carved together in a single time, like without taking out the entire the nail and the hammer, the chisel. Sorry, the hammer and the chisel with which they carve the deity, without taking them away, the whole deity, the entire 6 faces. It's understand carving all 6 faces, the peacock, and especially Lord Muruga, who's adorned with all these jewels. It's not so easy. The intricate details.
Actually, it is not about carving without removing the hammer and chisel. The speciality was the whole thing, including the peacock, jewels, everything, was carved in a single stone.
Exactly, the entire thing in a single stone. So the whole thing, this person, the deity who did it, sorry, the person who carved the deity, the sculptor, he did it so beautifully that the king who was ruling that place, so he sees it. And then he says that you have to carve a deity for me and give. So the most beautiful way, you have to carve a deity and give. Then he says, okay. And then he carves this deity and he gives the king. He tells this whole thing is made in a single stone and it is carved without removing the chisel and the hammer. That's a speciality. So that king becomes very, very selfish. And he says that, okay, the deity that I got should not go to anywhere, so let me just cut the thumb. Then, the moment his thumb is cut, then they say, okay, this deity should not be carried anywhere forward. Immediately,
actually, just to highlight the point, when the thumb is cut, understand to hold for an artist, the most important point is like the important finger is the thumb. Because every intricate detail they have to do it with the thumb. And he is specialized to do the whole carving, where he does the entire carving with single stone. And understand, they're all like 2 pieces. It's a separate peacock. And these are all not some small deities. It's a huge life-size deity. And the whole peacock and every face, everything is uniquely carved. And most importantly, the symmetry. Every face carved of Muruga, all the 6 faces look the same. So, like I just wanted to highlight it here that cutting the thumb was because the thumb was the most important organ, and if that organ is removed, the sculptor will not be able to do the same carving. So the king planned and removed that important organ, which is a thumb.
So what happens is after his thumb gets removed also, the sculptor still continues to carve the deity because he wanted to do it for his devotion to Muruga. And after that, the king gets angry. He says, how can he still carve? And the king removes the eye without using his sight, without using his thumb. The person, the sculptor, carves the deity of Muruga for the 3rd time again. And the same says, Lord Muruga, I am declaring my devotion to you. Just by visualizing you and chanting the Dhyana Shloka, I will carve. Till today, the last deity that he carved, it still stands in the temple, after which Muruga, pleased with his devotion, appears and gives darshan. Why I was sharing this? When the priest told me this, he told today, there is nobody who can carve that kind of deity. There are no, that community, that tradition, that people who carve. Even if you all know, this entire, the hanging pillar, we know there are so many people who watch a YouTube video where the sari, even if inserted under the pillar, it goes and comes through and the pillar is hanging.
Actually, even the Lepakshi temple, we have the hanging pillars. And an exciting news for all the viewers, Swamiji is reviving that same science back in our largest golden temple that Swamiji is building. So we are Swamiji is reviving even this science of hanging pillars. Many people would have seen it. It is not just, we have a temple, one temple where only just one pillar is hanging. And in Lepakshi temple, there are few pillars, like I think 4 or 5 pillars, where under every pillar you can actually put, at a time, you can put a cloth and remove only under one pillar. Understand? I'm talking about pillars that are supporting the whole structure, a huge granite structure. and they are hanging pillars.
Same way, we all knew that Somanatha temple where the Shivalinga used to stand. Why I'm sharing this all? Because today it's only our history. Today we only tell, oh, remember the musical temple, the musical pillars, remember the musical steps. Where are they now? Fortunately for us, Swamiji is reviving it back. Like Swamiji told, every lost tradition, just through this golden temple, Swamiji is going to revive.
Like, do you remember once when we visited a temple where there once was 7 steps, where each time you just walk on the steps, the musical notes will be played. And when we went, those steps were missing. It seems the government had removed it. Actually, I don't know who exactly, but like a political party had removed those steps in the name of building a road. And till date, there is no road. The ruins of the steps are still there in the same place. But we lost those 7 steps, where each time you walk on it, the stones will produce the musical tone. I'm just sharing all this so we understand the loss that we have had each time a community is lost. And now Swamiji is also doing like a unique process where he chooses the balasans, sees the gotra, meaning their whole lineage. What kind of powers the child will be able to manifest from its DNA, which is stored in its DNA. And Swamiji is preparing unique mechanisms and making that each kid express that power. I know many people would be interested in joining, and people really want to become part of this. And the simple solution is just become part of the Nithyananda Gurukul. I know we are really missing being there and being part of this amazing blessing. But it's something really, really lovely.
Actually, even the Oneness with the Avatar participants are getting to see, are getting to watch all this, how Swamiji learned, how Swamiji from his young age has been completely dedicated, completely, like every moment of his life is lived to just build Shrikailasa. And I really think it is this batch of entire Oneness with the Avatar program participants that are actually getting to enjoy seeing this and listening to it directly from Swamiji. So when Swamiji shares his story that, oh, I was sitting with Arunagiri Yogeshwara, like that, they get to see the place, they'll get to visualize. And apart from all of that, how Swamiji, each and every aspect of his life, he lived to bring back, to rebuild, to revive back the Sanatana Hindu Dharma. So, Leela, the entire Oneness with the Avatar program participants, it is a huge joy, huge gift that Swamiji has offered to all of us tonight.
As you were saying, Ma, in the Nithyananda Gurukul, the environment that Swamiji is creating, and as we have brought up many times during this whole introduction, this whole session, the whole science that Swamiji is bringing back is the science of making a new species, these spiritual mutants, which I actually was starting to speak about before, that created the ambience that Swamiji himself grew up in. That is what Swamiji is creating in the Nithyananda Gurukul. And essentially, these mutants, who I will explain why Swamiji even calls them mutants. Because in our DNA, if you see the way the DNA is evolving, even if you just see the natural evolution of DNA over a human life and over many lifetimes of human evolution, the way the DNA is evolving, Swamiji has declared, has established, and there's a lot of scientific backing showing that even within one lifetime, the selection of the best DNA can happen within inside of you, and you can then express higher capabilities which is what Swamiji is meaning when he says creating a new species. That is what Swamiji is doing today in Nithyananda Gurukul, and that is what Swamiji has grown up in Tiruvannamalai. I would like to express one example today for all of you. Swamiji's guru, Isaki Swamigal, he was such a great Siddha. In fact, if you go to Tiruvannamalai, even auto driver, any shopkeeper will know and completely revere Isaki Swamigal. Isaki Swamigal was a Siddha Purusha in Swamiji's lifetime, in his childhood, where he had learnt from Isaki Swamigal the Vedanta, the Upanishad, and so many different truths. And in fact, in the lineage of Arunachala, Isaki Swamigal was the guru of Mata Vibhudananda Puri, who was the one guru of Swamiji himself. So this picture that you are seeing of Isaki Swamigal is one of the pictures which Swamiji himself also has a picture seated in this exact same position, in this exact same spot. In the lineage which Swamiji, the Arunachala lineage, where it starts from this Guru Isaki Swamigal, then to his one disciple, Mata Vibhudananda Puri, to her one disciple, His Divine Holiness, Sri Nithyananda Paramashivam. This lineage of Arunachala started from the very first incarnation of Paramashiva on planet Earth, who Arunachala himself said that he will come down and live in the environment of Tiruvannamalai, in the environment of Arunachala, which is stated in the Arunachala Mahatyam, is Idayakar. This lineage, which started from Arunachala and the saint Idayakar, came down one disciple at a time until Swamiji himself today. Isaki Swamigal had so many different powers, expressed such immense healing power. In fact, it is said that just by the number of people that he healed, you can create a garland around Arunachala. That is how many people that he healed. If all of them just lined up, all of them did the circumambulation around Arunachala hill, the sacred Arunachala hill, which is the embodiment of Paramashiva himself, if all of them did that circumambulation, you can create a garland around the Arunachala hill. And his techniques for the healing process which he used to do was very simple. In fact, I would like all the viewers to hear it from Swamiji himself describing Isaki Swamigal, how he used to be and how Swamiji used to see him and used to interact with him.
There was a time in 70s in Tiruvannamalai, 70 and 80, late 70s and beginning of 80s, the whole 200-300 kilometers, the whole district, all hospitals were shut down. Anybody, any problem, they will go to him. He will not give some big medicines. He will just take the mud from the Arunachala and put it in the mouth, sometime in the nose, sometime in the head, and tell them it will become all right. Go around the hill 2 times, 3 times. It will become all right. This has become too much. And the stories say that he made a human garland on Arunachala. Means the people who started going around the hill because of his instruction were made like a human garland on Arunachala. The local villages are saying for full 3 years, day in and day out, he put a human garland for Arunachala. Garland made of Arunachala, Naramalai, he calls it. Garland made out of Arunachala. Garland made out of human beings for Arunachala. Because whole day he will sit and heal people. They were shocked. What is this? Their whole hospital is empty. Not only this guy goes on healing, he will give all simple things. Some leaf he will give, some mud he will give. All kinds of what he gives and how it gets healed, nobody knows. Not only is healing, he is inspiring people to stand on Hinduism. Too much. Those fellows created a conspiracy and they arranged a patient to come to him and he gave some vibhuti and they killed that patient and created the rumor. Because of his vibhuti, the patient died and made a police case and stopped literally he giving vibhuti or any herbs, leaves, which is completely illegal. But of course, money can do anything. And then he stopped giving medicine. The funny thing, even then they are not able to completely stop him. He stopped giving medicine or mud and stopped talking. He will just sit, people will come and ask him about problems. He will have a slate, in that he will say 4, means 4 days go around the hill, it will become alright. He continued to heal in this way. Even after the huge scandal, he continued to heal this way. Then after some time, he saw the pressure, the abusal from this missionary hospital and their place was getting too much. The harassment, continuous harassment was getting too much. So he stopped and started relaxing. Of course, till the end he was continuing to heal and teach people. But unfortunately, these guys are not able to transmit that great science as a science and technology. Before they were able to do, they have been persecuted. I am not going to let that happen.
As Swamiji said, he has declared, given the clarion call, that he is not going to let all the Siddha sciences, all the ancient sciences and the indigenous traditions of our Vedic tradition and our great civilization get lost. As we have been speaking about this entire introduction, the last this last hour, it is time that all Hindus watching this all over the world, all the 2 billion Hindus who are out there, must to recognize that it is time we stand up for who we are, and our future depends on it. I invite all of the viewers to join in the Nitya Satsang, which is come upon us now, and watch what Swamiji, His Divine Holiness, Sri Nithyananda Paramashivam, the embodiment of Paramashiva himself, is gifting to us in an initiation and giving the Paramashiva Jnana, the ultimate wisdom. Over this satsang, if you have any questions for Swamiji, if you have any questions that you want clarified about the topic which he is speaking, or any of the topics which he has spoken about during satsang, whether it might be about wealth, health, relationships, or cosmology, whatever you feel, you can ask at using the hashtag AskTheAvatar, tweet at Sri Nithyananda on Twitter, and use the hashtag AskTheAvatar, and you can have the opportunity to have your questions be answered by Swamiji. It is such a sweet experience to be able to interact with Swamiji and have your question be read out by him and have his complete ultimate wisdom be given to you, gifted to you to complete whatever seeking you have inside of you.
Satsang is only to continuously inspire you tirelessly. How your mother will wake you up tirelessly. Hindu mothers will nag you and wake you up. They will make sure you get up in time and go to school every day. That's the beauty of Hindu mothers. My satsang is like Hindu mother, waking you up every day, reminding you about the absolute every day, awakening you every day. உயிர் தான் உயிர்த்திருக்கும் காரணத்தின் குறிக்கோளை அடைவதற்கு பரமசிவ பரம்பொருள் உயிரை அடுத்தடுத்த நிலைக்கு வழிகாட்டிக் கொண்டே இருக்கின்றார். அதைதான் உயிரின் பரிணாம வளர்ச்சின்னு சொல்றோம். இப்பொழுது மனித இனத்தின் அடுத்த பரிமாணத்திற்குள் செல்ல வேண்டிய பரிணாம வளர்ச்சிக்கான காலம் கனிந்ததனால் அடுத்த நிலை, அடுத்த பரிமாணத்திற்குள் செல்ல வேண்டிய பரிணாம வளர்ச்சியின் உயிர்கூற்றை பரமசிவ பரம்பொருள் இந்த மேனிக்குள் இறக்கி உலகத்திற்கு அளிப்பதற்காக செயல்பட்டுக் கொண்டிருக்கின்றது. உயிரை அடுத்த பரிணாமத்திற்கு கொண்டு செல்லுகின்ற அறிவியலை இவ்வுடலுக்குள் செலுத்தி இதன் மூலமாய் உலகிற்கு மலரச் செய்து கொண்டிருக்கின்றார் பரமசிவ பரம்பொருள்.
Nithyanandam. Today Swamiji was sharing about doing Tyaga of our impossibilities. The best thing with Swamiji is not only he guides us, he takes us through the process, helps us in dropping our impossibilities and doing tyaga of our impossibilities. One such experience that I want to share is after the persecution, after March of 2010. With this huge persecution on us, it was a tremendous impact on the Sangha, with all kinds of attacks on us, with our security, with false news, with the media attack, with the freezing, the revenue of the ashram.
நீங்கள் எல்லோரும் நித்தியமானவர்கள், நிரந்தரமானவர்கள், அழிவில்லாதவர்கள். மாணிக்கவாசக பெருமான் சொல்றார் இல்லையா, புல்லாகி புடாய் புழுவாய் மரமாகி பல்விருகமாகி பறவையாய் பாம்பாகி கல்லாய் மனிதராய் பேயாய் கணங்களாய் செல்லா நின்ற இத்தாவர சங்கமத்துள் எல்லா பிறப்பும் பிறந்திழைத்தேன் எம்பெருமான். உங்களுக்குள்ளே ஒரு பொருள், ஏதோ ஒன்று இந்த எல்லா பிறவியின் போதும் அழியாமல் நித்தியமானதாக இருக்கின்றது. அதுதான் நீங்கள்.
Nithyanandam, sorry for the technical glitch. As I was sharing about the impossibility and my experience with one of the greatest impossibilities we were stuck with, how Swamiji beautifully, without even directly attacking that, without even directly telling us that he's working on that impossibility, how he removed that. It was right after the persecution in March 2010, where it was a huge attack, where we could not even perceive what was going on. In every possible way, we were attacked with the illegal arrest of Swamiji, with the the attack on the ashram and the false media news and what not. Like, we cannot even imagine the kind of attacks that was going on, and of course the murder attempts on Swamiji. It was just unbelievable. And it took really a long time for us to recover, in the sense of even understanding and coming to terms with it. And of course, when Swamiji returns, his freedom to speak was taken away, his freedom to travel was taken away. While we are still in the shock, of course, nothing can stop Swamiji. He started, when he was legally ready to, he started the online programs, and he was only expanding. He started the Nithyananda TV, the online programs, the Kalpataru Darshans, and so on and on. But somewhere we were stuck with how people were perceiving us. So when we were enriching people, like Swamiji's whole happening on the planet Earth was to enrich people. But how we were perceiving as causers, as enrichers, was like, what is that people are thinking about us? So every year with the Inner Awakening program happening, and that was also happening every 2 months, we were thinking, okay, people are still feeling negative about Swamiji, they are still believing the media. And we were not realizing it was us who were stuck this way, but not actually the reality outside. Swamiji tried to explain to us. He waited 1 year, he waited 2 years, he waited 3 years, and we were still stuck. Then one day, in I think it's February or March of 2013, Swamiji announces in Satsang that we are going to have a biggest inner awakening with 1,008 people. And we were like, what? How is that going to happen? How are we going to enrich 1,008 people? And like all our possible impossibilities were lining up in our mind. And of course, Swamiji made it happen. Every day he would inspire us, sit with us, train us, and we were all caught up in that enthusiasm and movement. And before you know, there were more than 1,300 people signed up for that inner awakening. And only much later, I realized, oh my God, before this inner awakening, we were stuck with this whole persecution idea that because of the persecution, people are still believing this, and that is why we are not able to cause people. Only after this whole Leela that Swamiji played in enriching and making us see that we can, and people are ready to, be enriched and to receive Swamiji's blessings, with 1,300 people that signed up for that inner awakening, I realized, oh my God, Swamiji played this beautiful Leela to break that complete pattern of impossibility, especially having the persecution as an excuse, because after that nobody even thought of the persecution as an excuse. So this, I always remember how Swamiji breaks our impossibility patterns that we carry. And this is what, I feel that whether it is with respect to wealth, whether it is with respect to relations, he just gives us a beautiful goal where wherever we are stuck, it is broken. And of course, how Swamiji is sharing about firewalk, if it was just for us with our own inspiration to do that, we will probably not. 90% of us would not even, want to do that. But with the inspiration that Swamiji is giving, and of course, if, with the inspiration that Swamiji is giving, of course, all of us would like to have that chance and participate, whether it is the Vratam, whether it's a Nirahara, whether it is a firewalk. Such opportunity is what is the Sarvajñapita Ejaman. Every day we share about this beautiful opportunity of becoming a Sarvajñapita Ejaman, a owner to build, to make beautiful Sarvajñapitas, temples, adinams happen around the world. Somewhere we may be stuck, whether it is possible for me, whether I am eligible, and what not. When we jump, when we take that leap with the trust on Swamiji, he breaks all different patterns which we do not even know that we have. Or we may be measuring us low, thinking that this is what is possible for me, this is what I can do. Today I want to share one experience of a couple from Toronto who share their experience how becoming a Sarvajñapita Ejaman actually made such breakthroughs in their business. So let us hear from Sobi and Samesh from Toronto.
Nithyananda, my name is Sobi Raghunathan. I'm from Toronto, Canada, and I'm a business owner.
Nithyananda, my name is Sabesh Kanagaratnam. I'm from Toronto, Canada. I'm also a business owner with my wife Sobi.
We decided to become Sarvajñapita owners during Nithyananda time. We got introduced to the project and we felt we were very connected to Swamiji, and that was our first IA, and we wanted to be part of Swamiji's mission, and we felt becoming Sarvajñapita owners is one of the ways where we can feel so connected to Swamiji and be part of his mission.
Swamiji introduced us to his mission as reviving the entire Hindu traditions and bringing back the Hindu traditions alive and having it directly come from the source. So what we did was we looked at the plans and what he had in mind, and I felt that this was something that we had to do. There was something that was drawing us to do this project and be part of this project. And I'm very proud to be one of the first few Sarvajñapita members, and I encourage everybody to be part of this.
Being part of the Sarvajñapita owners in terms of contributing to the Sarvajñapita project has expanded us in many ways, especially with our business and our vision, and Swamiji speaks about expansion. We feel, I personally feel, with the business and our personal goals and growth, we have expanded so much in terms of thinking in big projects and big projects, and being part of, being involved in building temples in Toronto, and being part of continue to contribute to Swamiji's mission is one of the things that we really want to do, and it has expanded us tremendously, especially our connection towards wealth and money consciousness, and all that has shifted us tremendously. Thank you very much, Swamiji. Without you, we wouldn't have done this.
Thank you very much, Swamiji. Without this, I don't think we would never ever have started thinking at a different level than we are doing right now. Thank you, Nithyananda.
Nithyananda.
It is possible for you also to become a Sarvajñapita Ejaman and break all the impossibilities and have breakthrough cognitions about wealth, about life, about relationships and whatnot. How you can become a Sarvajñapita Ejaman? Register at www.nithyanandahinduuniversity.org/daily-satsang to become a Sarvajñapita Ejaman. And of course, such a beautiful opportunity that Swamiji has given us today to fight, to immune to the coronavirus, while the whole world is under the fear stroke of how to handle and pretty much withdrawn from life. Swamiji gives us this amazing solution of what we need to do. The Pacha Padani Vridam, not only that Swamiji has given us, he is inspiring us by doing that Vritam along with us. If you would like to participate in this Vritam, you can register again at www.nithyanandahinduuniversity.org/daily-satsang and awaken our energy and be immune from the coronavirus. Thank you, Nithyananda.
Anandam Paramasukam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Vandvatitam Gagana Sadisham Tattvamasyaadilaksham Ekam Nityam Damalamachalam Sarvadi Sakshibhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Satgurum Tam Ramami. Nithyananda, welcome to Shrikailasa Manifesting Power Session. Welcome everybody. Such an intense satsang. Beyond the possibility of what is happening, Bhagavan is giving us a breakthrough of organic vaccination in different levels. He's giving us the understanding how Tyaga intensifies when love becomes more, when your Hridaya heart is filled with Bhagavan, and how more and more you're in love with Bhagavan, Tyaga simply happens. More and more living that space of Tyaga, oneness with Paramashiva, is the ultimate, makes everything so beautiful and easy. Doing the morning routine, the mood swings completely vanish away. Bhagavan has once said to the Gurukul kids, how in the morning the maximum contemplation is happening in your mind. And when you are very clear what you want in the morning and bring a clarity during yoga and puja, the coherence that just happens. Yoga, he calls it as aligning to the cosmic geometry. So your mind, body, emotion, everything is aligned to the highest reality. Same way doing puja, you as Paramashiva himself as offering to Paramashiva, simply holding that oneness space, melting in Paramashiva, and continuously doing this yoga and puja in the Brahma Muhurta simply makes us align to the coherence of the brain, the clarity that it brings. So the emotional ups and downs does not affect us. And Bhagavan simply says, there's a nadi which was there in human being which is lost now, simply starts happening. Then you start doing yoga in the Brahma Muhurta. It's so powerful. It's not just flexing our muscles or building our muscles or getting some strength, but it's much beyond the Brahma Muhurta. If you heard that maximum number of heart attacks happen in the early morning, how much we are aligned and how much the confusion happens in the ordinary world while doing all the yoga and puja in that time releases from all that and aligns us to the highest reality. Each and everything Bhagavan says is completely true and completely real. Living the Charya Pada, simple lifestyle that Bhagavan has given, and Yoga Pada, Kriya Pada, and Jnana Pada, how he says simply the coronavirus could be really completely wiped out when you are in the Panchapatni Vridam. That is simple fasting for 28 days, letting go all the reactionary assumption. Most of the reactionary assumption is from the food that we eat. If we sit for meditation, the only thing which goes on inside is our mind is completely chaosed, and to settle down it takes so long. But doing this yoga, doing the puja, it is literally settling our inner space. And the Panchabhatri Vridam, the Nirahara Samyama that Bhagavan has given, settles our inner space to such coherence, understanding we can start living the higher cognition, higher reality, that space of tyaga, space of love, simply because our inner space is completely settled. Even whatever we want to strategize, it becomes so natural and real, not changing every hour, but more clarity and more in oneness with Paramashiva, the right decisions that we make, right thought current we carry, and less confusion and less chaos that happens inside us. The conflicts simply reduces and vanish away. So each and everything that Bhagavan gives us is such a powerful space. And with that powerful space, the darshan and diksha, let's go to the Shastra Pramana today.
The Shastra Pramana for the power to alter matter within the body is taken from the Shiva Sutra, Sutra 3.43. Bhuta kanchukitada vimukto bhuyah pati samah paraha. Bhuta kanchukitada vimukto bhuyah pati samah paraha.
Such a beautiful sutra, exactly given us. from the Shiva Sutra 3.43. Power to fill up your or empty the stomach through the third eye. For him, 5 elements are only the covering. At the very moment he is absolutely liberated, supreme and just like Shiva. How Bhagavan said, the earth element, when we are very rigid, we are caught up in the earth element. When in the water element, when we are in emotional ups and downs, the mute swings, and continuously in up and down, we are not able to think what we really want. The coherence does not happen. And the fire element, completely tired and bored. And the air element, the boredom leads to the suicide. All this depression, boredom, tiredness, the tiredness that the water element holds, the whole space of confusion, chaos, struggle, all these are part of the 5 elements that we are struggling with. To settle those elements and raise ourselves to the higher reality. Bhagavan's once come down when Vaigai river was over flooding because they jailed Manika Vasagar, and Bhagavan comes down, Paramashiva comes down to help embark the Vaigai in Madurai and sees the old lady and asks her for some food, and she gives some very nice sweet, and he eats the sweet and goes and lies down instead of doing anything. The guards come and say, why are you lying down instead of building the embankment for the river not to overflow? He simply smiles and goes back to sleep. So king himself comes and he asks, why are you lying down and not working? And he takes the wand and hits Bhagavan. And when he hits, everybody, every being on planet Earth or any other part of any other dimension felt that pain, that whatever he went through, to show that everything, the whole world is filled with the same consciousness that the king was also having inside him. The king also felt the beating on himself. So when he felt the beating, he simply surrendered to Paramashiva and said, I did not know that it is you who has come down. Please save us from this flooding and tell us what we need to do. Bhagavan himself comes down and makes all of us experience this great science that everything is Paramashiva, everything is consciousness, and that is the existential reality. Many times he comes down to show us the highest reality. Now Bhagavan himself has told us he is going to be in the Vrita, but actually he will be making sure all of us who are in the Vrita will be filled up with the stomach full. Once Bhagavan was sitting around and he said, okay, I finish eating, now all of you will be full. And we all felt completely full, and the best part, we forgot about the food. We did not even remember about the food after he said that. It was completely erased out of our memory that whether we had food or not. So such powerful space when Bhagavan starts fasting with us. He not fast, but makes us complete and fulfilled and overflowing with joy. Same Krishna, when he ate, he told his gopikas that all of them will be full, and they all felt completely eaten every single dish. All these great things Bhagavan gives us, and we have to only experience by doing the tyaga of not getting into reactionary assumption, but living that beautiful space of oneness with Bhagavan. When he says buttermilk and panagam, simply living that space, you will be full. And it's not that you'll feel empty and hungry, but simply taking that, Bhagavan has already programmed whoever is taking that is completely taken care also. When Bhagavan himself is doing that, simply we feel that complete space of oneness. And for all of us to experience that, he himself comes down and plays all these leelas. So with that space, let's go to the instruction. Today we are going to, of course, we are with the empty stomach, so we can fill the stomach just by Tyaga, pure love in the Hridaya, and continuously chanting the Mahavakya. Now let's sit straight with the head, neck and back in a straight line. Contemplate on the great truth Bhagavan has given and hold that space of oneness in the darshan that he has given now. The beautiful darshan and the Deeksha, the initiation that is mainly taking out all our incompletion and surrendering to Bhagavan again and again makes us completely in oneness. The Shaktipada with Bhagavan starts happening. And chanting the Mahavakya, the mantra Diksha that we got, literally our whole body vibrates. Every part of our body, every cell of the body vibrates with the Mahavakya that he had given. When we contemplate and chant the Mahavakya, feeling the oneness with Paramashiva in our hearts, continuously, simply we will see any power manifest in front of us absolutely. So let's sit straight, visualize Bhagavan in third eye, continuously contemplate and chant the Mahavakya, Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham.
Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham. Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham. Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham. Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham. Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham. Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham. Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham. Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham. Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham. Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham. Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham. Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham. Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham. Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham. Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham. Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham. Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham. Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham. Nithyananda Paramashivoham. Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham. Om ॐ नित्यानन्द परमशिवोऽहम् 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 Paramashivoham. Om Nithyananda 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 Paramashivam. 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 Om Nithyananda.
Wonderful. Slowly open your eyes and share your experience. All these beautiful space becomes more reality and more alive when you share your experience again and again. In tinyurl.com/power manifestation, go ahead and share your great understanding and how you experienced the powerful cognition, the darshan, the diksha, and the Shakti Avishkarna itself, the power manifestation itself. All these great truths, when we start experiencing in our life and sharing in our own words with as many people as possible, we reiterate that state in us. If you've, suppose, manifested the power of filling your stomach, when you're feeling Bhagwan in your heart, your stomach simply fills in, and you share this experience with hundreds of people, then they will also start manifesting that powers and simply be aligned to more and more the higher reality. How Bhagwan says, when we do not have the reactionary assumptions, the mood swings, we are aligned to the higher reality. The gas in the stomach dilutes and moves away, simply giving us the space for higher reality to happen. It's very important that we making that our lifestyle by sharing, enriching others, and simply you can cause others to be part of the whole thing. When you are in the oneness state with Paramashiva, it's not that you convince somebody. Because you are in that state of Paramashiva, the reflection in them simply makes a yes for you. Whenever you're struggling anywhere outside, that somebody is not agreeing, somebody is not with you, aligned with you in what your thoughts are, simply go to the higher resources. Start becoming oneness with Paramashiva in your heart and start sharing and living that space with others. You will find that simply they align to the higher reality with you and start understanding and start realizing and start literally being part of what you want. The more you are aligned without the reactionary assumptions, the mood swings, and the delusions, we will be able to cause others also in the same space. So that is why Bhagavan has told us as a daily routine, go ahead and enrich everybody and cause everybody, not by marketing or causing, by convincing, but by living in your inner space in the oneness with Paramashiva. You completely merging with Paramashiva, simply people around you will start living that reality that you want to. Such a beautiful space that Bhagavan has given. And the Nithyananda Gurukul, he said millions of Gurukul are happening around the world, and that is becoming true every month. So many people are registering and so many kids are attending the online Gurukul. Parents are so happy. So many testimonials you would have seen from many parts of the world that parents are so happy to see the changes in the children, because as a child, all these happens very quickly. How they start with the Sirasasana, that is the standing upside down, everything for them, it's very easy because they are not in the reactionary assumption life. Till 21, they are only in the oneness of Paramashiva, and they can simply clone him and manifest Bhagavan inside them immediately when they align to all these greater truths. So giving them an opportunity once a week to align themselves to these greater truths is Nithyananda Gurukul, online Gurukul. And if you would like to see the joy and fun in the kids and enjoy that space, you being part of the Acharya registration will lead you to higher reality, just seeing the kids in oneness with Paramashiva. Bhagavan has given this oneness with Avatar, the ultimate program that's going on, and we can really physically feel how Bhagavan is living the space of Arunagiri Yogeshwara to give the experience for the participants, and how amazing Bhagavan has really given us that possibility for us to realize the higher dimension of us, the higher reality. Anything and everything that Bhagavan gives, don't miss even one opportunity in any way. How much ever possible, be there for the next batch to experience the highest truth. Yes, the dates will be published soon because of coronavirus. The dates will be correctly published soon, and simply you can experience the higher reality with Bhagavan. And Bhagavan's weekend program that he every week conducts for us to experience the ultimate. Cause as many people as you can and bring yourself also to experience the ultimate again and again into the Mantra Diksha, into the Siva Diksha and the Samaya Diksha, which makes us the authority to worship Paramashiva himself, do the Abhishekam and Alankar and the Puja. Such a oneness space that Bhagavan creates for all of us in such a small 2-day program, and simply makes us understand the higher reality, that why we have come to planet Earth to completely celebrate the highest nectar of Paramashiva starts happening in all of us when we start living in the oneness space of Paramashiva. So with that beautiful space, let's surrender to Bhagavan's lotus feet all the powerful cognition and ideas, views, everything that we have, and the power manifestation, Shakti Avishkarna also, to Bhagavan's lotus feet. Again and again, surrendering to Bhagavan's lotus feet, we raise in confidence and is able to do Tyaga so beautifully. So with the deep earning, seeking, request Bhagavan in a prayerful space with a deep gratitude to make Tyaga and love as your existential reality. The more and more we make the Tyaga as our lifestyle, the more and more we can experience Bhagavan inside us, overflowing with joy, bliss, and ultimate completion which happens in all of us. So with that beautiful space, let's visualize Bhagavan in third eye and end the session with the Purna Mantra. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purna Purnamudashyate Purnasya Purnamataya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat Sarvam Bhagavate Sri Nithyananda Paramashivam Padukarpanamastu. Om Nithyanandam. Thank you, Bhagwan. Thank you, each and every one of you. See you in the next Power Manifestation session. Nithyanandam.
Om Nitya